which is a great problem to have on here, but it did sort of interrupt the flow, and I want to be a little bit faster with this so I can kind of go through how it all works for the people that requested it at work during our last meeting. All right, so I've got ChatGPT up here. I've also got Bard. We're not really going to worry about Bard right now, and we're just going to use ChatGPT. And what we're talking about right now is training AI. Now, I am using I believe this is a plugin. I don't think this is something that was added directly to the AI. I've kind of lost track because they keep updating things. But I've got it set up here to informal tone, default writing style. You can go through here, academic, conversational, creative, and you really do have a lot of prompts you can work with here, but we're going to go with default. We're going to change this to default so that you can kind of see how everything looks at the unmodified base level of everything. All right, let's roll through this. We're going to ask for a please always be polite because you never know when the AI is going to take over, and I'm sure they'll have a database of the people that were nice to them and the people that were mean to them, and some of us are going to end up, living the good life, and some of us are going to end up as batteries, and that's just the way it is. All right, please, article about 1,000 words on the subject of AI's impact on marketing. Please divide the outlook into, let's see here, 1, 5, and 10-year projections. All right, we're doing this for a couple reasons. One, it's going to force them to make things a little bit longer. It's a more complex ask. It gives us a chronologically delineated response so that we can sort of, instead of just getting a response where they're like, AI is going to do this, it's going to tell us AI is going to do this now and then and then a little later than then. But the other thing it's going to do for us is it's going to let us see some of the weaknesses inherent in ChatGPT. Because when it works, like what it's doing is it's looking at essentially the probability of one word following the other, and it is more complex than that because it does look back at what is earlier in the sentence to form relationships between um, subjects and nouns and verbs and so on and so forth. But it's got a pretty short memory. It doesn't really reference 2 paragraphs ago when it's writing the third paragraph. That's just not how it operates now. I am sure that will happen eventually. That is going to expand and that is going to continue happening. It's just the way it is. Um, but we're not there yet. Also, you can see right off the bat that this thing formats everything like it was writing a college essay. Because it learns from humans, it learns our bad habits. Sort of, so by default, ChatGPT is of necessity a very average writer. All right. I can't remember what the hotkey is for formatting. Clear formatting. Okay. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. The first thing I'm doing here is I'm just opening it up a little bit so that I have a kind of feel for the overall spacing of everything. It's really helpful to do that. How much time it's devoting to each statement. All right. So one thing we'll do right now is we'll just look at this and we'll go to Tools, Word Count. I asked it for about 1,000 words, and much like a human, it's gone to 500 because it's lazy. Uh, hey Maya, just curious, why AI? Short answer is I'm a professional writer, and it's going to have a huge impact on my career. And if something is coming into your line of work and disrupting it, you want to be the person that understands how it works, what its limitations are, and all the cool shit you can do with it. And I'm going to be that guy. I'm actually filming this little intro section right here for some of my coworkers who wanted me to run through how I train the AI to give better responses. Um, they are possibly plotting to replace me, but I think they're just curious. All right. Getting the jump on it. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So what I did here was I started with everything on default here, but please write me an article about 1,000 words on the subject of AI's impact on marketing. Please divide the outlook into 1, 5, and 10-year projections. The reason I did that is partly to highlight some of the weaknesses of AI, uh, because it tends to get a little repetitive when you ask it to break things up chronologically, but also just to create a better article. A big part of using AI effectively, arguably the biggest part of it, is learning how to ask it for what you actually want. Because it's a computer, it is fundamentally pretty stupid. It will misunderstand things. It has, by the standards of all past iterations of technology, an extraordinary grasp of, nuance and metaphor and all this other stuff, but it's not fantastic at it yet. It's certainly not operating at a human level. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through and edit this like I would anything else that a human had put together. And as part of training the AI, what we're doing is it is very, very good at learning from what you tell it. So I say, hey, here's the things I did differently. In the future, do it like this. And that has a pretty rapid and immediate impact on how the AI actually behaves. Slightly alarming, actually, as a writer, how fast it learns. But I'm not worried about getting replaced anytime too soon here. You know, it is at risk, but I think it's less at risk than jobs that don't involve creativity. Like you need fewer writers, fewer designers, and assorted other creative people to get the stuff done. But it doesn't really do that first bit too well, where you're coming up with ideas as well as a human would. Like it'll suggest some ideas, but it doesn't come up with anything at all revolutionary, because what it does is look at the average of all this data that it has access to and then use that to predict things. So it fundamentally is incapable of uh, outliers, which are often what you're looking for. You want to be the outlier. But on top of that, it's also not great yet at the final end of things, where you have to polish things up and bring them to really specific standards. But it is fantastic at that like long slog in the middle, and I'm actually all for that. Like this is something that can make me like I'm not suffering for lack of things I want to write about as much as time to write it. So I'm actually really excited about the idea of it taking sort of the most boring part of my job and vastly, vastly streamlining it. Editing work, actually, yeah, not wrong. Not quite content editing yet, but copy editing, I think it's already better than copy editors. Like, I've done, I've made money doing copy editing for people. I don't think I'll ever have another copy editing job. I think if you are a full-time copy editor, you need to be looking at how you can diversify your skill sets. I just, I just don't see the coming. I think the jobs that are most at risk are going to be the ones that are information nexus type jobs. So where you are the person that helps all these different teams come together. Because I think AI is going to be really good at stringing all the different parts of a project together and presenting all the information you need. Like as sort of like a marketing and project management standpoint, I think that's going to get streamlined really quickly. And I think the other things, anything that involves taking things humans say and putting it into a spreadsheet of some sort, like, and then so that a computer can do math on it. So accountants, those sort of jobs are going to be gone. The other big thing, and this is probably the biggest thing, is where's the money? So the first places that I think this is going to hit are like legal jobs, marketing jobs, because if you can automate those jobs, like if you automate writing, there's only a few of us at any given corporation. So, if you spend $500,000 to automate writers, I mean, maybe you break even on that. If you spend $500,000 to automate marketers, you're saving your company millions, tens of millions of dollars a year. So, and same with like legal professions, those are going to be heavily targeted at first because that's where the money is. So, like, if your job is not especially creative but involves communicating, and there's a lot of money for corporations tied up in it, those are going to be the first places I think people are going to get hit hard. But like everybody else that is talking about I have nothing but wild guessing going on, right? Like, I do have a science background, so I'm like slightly more technical than the average bear, but like it's anything goes. Who the hell knows? What we're great at is the other thing is it'll be really good at is iteration. Like, I already use it for like design stuff. Like, you can say, hey, do 15 different, slightly different versions of this, and instead of it taking you all day, the AI does it in like 30 seconds, and then you pick the one you like best, and then you just roll with it, and it is so cool. No, AI can do a pretty good job of imitating Stephen King, but it's not going to give you that like magic. I don't think yet, and I could end up being wrong, but I'm not particularly panicked about it. The thing is, like, yeah, it's like you can make good guesses about how things are going to happen in the next year, in the next 5 years, but once you get beyond that, it's wide open, unpredictable, which is kind of fun, kind of cool. Doesn't bring his styles. It's right, yeah. It doesn't. And also, it doesn't have any emotional understanding, right? This isn't anything like true AI. This isn't. There's no cognition happening. This is a really, really complex and very, very cool autocomplete feature tied up to a search engine. And I'm not really knocking that because it is incredible what you can do with that. Like, absolutely off the wall extraordinary. But it's not the end of human creativity or anything of the sort. I don't think anybody needs to be as worried in the next year or two as they are right now because it's just as fast as it's coming on, it has some hard limits that you do run into. The more you play around with it, the more you find that it kind of goofs on stuff. And I can actually start doing that here. Like, I'll run through this. Artificial intelligence has revolutionized the way we do business, and marketing is no exception. So it veers towards average. This is a really average intro, and everything it writes is sort of by definition average writer level. It tends to look like a lot of the content that we put out, which means it looks like a lot of high school and college term papers. Give it 15 years, you're gonna have AI companions. I mean, I'm kind of excited to see what it can do with like mental health. Like, when you think about like what it would be like to have an on-demand counselor that's especially adapted to you, you know, has no human foibles but still interacts with you in a very human way. Like, I feel like that could actually be really good for a lot of people. There are a lot of um, lonely people in the world, and I think like some people get like a little squicked out by that idea, but to be honest, like, it's not that different than like journaling, right? Which a lot of people do for mental health. Even like, I write a lot. Just, what's going on, how I'm feeling, just keeping track of things, helping myself sort of work through whatever's going on in my life. So, and I don't really see like talking to an AI as any different from that. That's sort of just, it's just a more interactive journal. Uh, With the ability to process massive amounts of data and learn from patterns and behaviors, AI is changing the game for marketers. In this article, so one of the things that makes everything more human, we'll change this to pink so it shows up a bit better. Everything more human is adding contractions. It's one of the easiest things you can do to make your writing more open and less formal. Um, I mean, I probably could. I'd be damn suspicious. Probably. It depends on how good the student is. Like, somebody who spent time learning how to use complex and clever prompts could definitely create something that I wouldn't question. But if somebody just plugged in like what I just plugged in, I would absolutely recognize it in no small part because if I ask, like, if 15 of your students say write a paper on, you know, the Han Dynasty of China, there's gonna be like 50% overlap in the content of those papers because the AI is pulling from the same sources and using the same overall information and is going to use the same stylistic choices over and over again. Um, I'm not as worried about it. I think like one thing that's really cool about AI is it's going to bring the like writing is just communication, right? Like your goal when you write is to communicate, and it's going to bring the average person's level of writing up a notch. I mean, that's no different from what spell check did and like grammar check. Like people have gotten, they still don't know all the rules, but people who don't know all the rules very well can still communicate more effectively. And I don't really see that as a negative for society. Um, and it's still going to be the same arms race. Like, even if you like say, okay, you can use AI to write papers, right? You're going to judge it by a different standard. And if you've got 19 students that turn in basically the same paper, and then 6 students that clearly took the time to think about how they wanted the AI to write the paper and maybe go through it and make modifications and have an excellent paper, you're still going to end up sort of with like the same grade distribution you had before. You're going to have the people that put in the effort and the people that didn't put in the effort. It's just like it means that you don't have to take as much effort to get to, you know, like the effort that it used to take to get from, sorry, the screen's mirrored, from here to here. Now you can you can take like you can get to from here to here in no time, and then like all the way to here if you're the sort of person that puts an effort. And the new bottom line is going to be here instead of here. Yeah, exactly. So skill level is shown either way, but it's just judged differently. Yeah, I mean you can almost like the amount of effort that like I mean I don't know your age, but like my generation puts into writing a paper, like uh, I can't imagine what a pain in the ass it was when people had to write reports on typewriters, right? Like you made a mistake, whoops, there you go. Let's pull out the page, let's start over. Or you get through stuff and you're like, you know what? I could have put another point up here and it would flow better like this. I just highlight it and move it, right? Like that wasn't an option. Uh, Really, when I was born, it wasn't even really an option yet for most people. So there's always going to be the people that adapt to whatever's new, and they're going to be the people that define what good is within that. They benchmark it. The benchmark shifts whenever things get more efficient or easier. The benchmark shifts, um, and like in some cases, it's sort of uh, there's always the people that benefit when there's a lag between the old folks like me and then the kids that pick it up like right away. Like when I was in college, some professors had open book like online quizzes and tests and stuff, and the idea was you'd have to read through the material to answer these questions. But the problem with that was, of course, they didn't realize it yet because they hadn't really lived in the world of PDFs, but you could just control F, right? You just find. So you'd search like for the phrase, like some key phrase, you go bop, 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 and like you could get 100 on the test, go through the test in just minutes because you had that available. But there still is there it didn't change the dynamic between the people that were there because they wanted to learn the stuff and enjoyed it anyway, and the people that were lazy. And at a certain level, I don't feel like it is the job of anyone to make people learn or to make people do things. Like, it's got to be intrinsic. And sometimes people need a little push, and that's different. But like overall, I think it needs to be something that comes from within you. And if you're not feeling it, you shouldn't really be pursuing whatever you're pursuing. Um, and that goes even if you're not like really interested in it, but you're doing it for the money. Like if the money isn't enough of a motivation to do it, then like you're still back at the same place with the same question. All right, what was I talking about here? 1, 5, and 10 years. Obviously, we'd want to change these to uh, words as opposed to numerals. Artificial intelligence AI has revolutionized the way we do business. It's already learning to be better at intros. It was real crap when we like even like a month ago at intros, and it's gotten a lot better. I'm not sure if some of that's because like I've trained this AI and I tried to get it to go back to zero to do this explanation. Um, but like here's another thing you can see, like people, especially college students, like love these little asides in like just a little statement marked off with a comma. 9 times out of 10, those are useless. Things like which, the word which is almost useless. Um, in this case, you need to add a conjunction because we got rid of it. But that's a word to look out for. Lists of lists tend to be an issue with these guys, although not as much as with human people. Here, additionally, there is a word cut off by, roped off with a little comma. That's a good sign it doesn't need to be there. I also look for the word that because the word that is about 25% of the time something that needs to be there, and the other 75% of the time something that is taking up extra space and making the statement passive instead of active. AI will also, a lot of times you don't need to add things like also because also is understood, right? Like that's also, like when you have more than one thing, you don't need to say also because like you can see that there's more than one thing there. So are you like a writer at all? Do you write for fun or anything like that, or you just wandered through for the hell of it, pure curiosity? So what's that? All right, let's roll through this first one. Boop. Obviously, we don't need to say in this article. It's another parent or just statement with a comma that we don't really need to interact with. So we'll explore the impact of AI on marketing in the next 1, 5, and 10 years. Whoop. 10 is where you would consider typing it out as numerals, but we're not going to do that here. When in doubt, go for consistency. Now, one thing that's true of humans and AI is oftentimes the first sentence doesn't actually need to uh, be there at all. Like things, we like to set the stage for things, but we don't need to set the stage for things. We also like to lead and I feel like this is just like from when we're kids, when we know like we're talking to an adult and we only have a few seconds to get out like why we decided to do something. We always like to put the why before they give like a reason to care, like before the what. And usually that's the worst way to communicate. Like tell people what so they have a reason to like care, and then tell them all the other irrelevant details. Like you don't build up to it. you start with what you want to say and then you back it up. But here, like, we can start with artificial intelligence has revolutionized the way we do business, and marketing is no exception, which is true, also kind of meaningless. So we get rid of that. Instead of like setting the stage, we now start with the ability to process massive amounts of data and learn from patterns and behaviors. AI is changing the game for marketers. All right, the only thing we have to do here now is we do want to spell this out, right? Because we always want to spell out the full word before we use abbreviations, and we should try to avoid using abbreviations to an obnoxious degree, like, you know, especially three-letter acronyms, because it comes across as buzzwordy and gatekeeping. So we tell them why they should care right here, what they should care about, and then we say we're going to go into it. Sorry, here's what we're talking about. Boom, ready to go. We're jumping in. 1 year outlook. All right, not bad. We may change that. As a general rule, this is just something I do as a writer, partly because I am ADD as all hell, but also because it's just good practice. Both Google Docs and here we'll make this heading too so you can get a better feel for it. Both Google Docs and Word have essentially a built-in outlining feature. You can see it over here on the side that lets you keep everything organized as long as you just use headings as you go. So it makes you look like you're really on the ball and know what's going on, and helps you be on the ball and know what's going on. All right, which is especially handy if you're working with a lot of people and you might have to backtrack or explain things or jump around, whatever. Let's see. Um, let's go AI and marketing. Boom. We'll do this as the H1 instead of the title. But you can see here how we've now got the beginnings of a hierarchy. Not really important in something this short, but a good habit is a good habit. Now, we just said 1 year outlook, so we don't really need to say in the next year because we've already said that. We can expect AI to continue to grow. We don't need to say to continue to grow because to grow is to continue to grow. AI-powered chatbots, which can help their customers. We'll keep this which. There's always exceptions. These bots will be able to provide personalized experiences based on customer preferences, previous purchases, and browsing history. That's not alarming at all, because I like talking to robots that know absolutely everything about everything I do. Now, additionally, spot those commas and delete whenever possible will help companies analyze consumer behavior and gain insights into their purchasing habits. So help companies tailor their marketing campaigns to individual customers, leading to higher conversion rates and increased revenue. Maybe. AI will also make it easier for customers to collect and analyze data from various sources, including social media platforms, email campaigns, and website analytics. With this data, whenever possible, you want to make things active. It has two advantages. One, it's more engaging. People like it better. People engage with it more. But the other one is just it tends to make things shorter, which when you are writing for someone, especially in the internet era where we can just click off to a million different things, we have infinite, like almost effectively infinite things that can distract us because they're making things faster than we can interact with them. Every sentence is a transaction with the reader, and they need to, when they read that sentence, feel like they got value out of it equal to the time, equal or greater than the time they put into reading it. At any time you fail to do that, especially 2 or 3 sentences in a row, you've lost them. They're gone. It's especially true in like marketing stuff, but anything, anything is true in. The last thing you want is for people to get bored because they have better things to do. Same deal here. We don't need to look at in the next 5 years, and we'll probably start to see areas of overlap and really common language to what they used before up here because it doesn't really remember what it did up here, down there. One of the cool things about the natural learning like processes is that they do look at context within sentences and a little bit beyond sentences, but they weight them based on essentially distance inside the document. So by the time you get down here, the weight of what they said up here is not really particularly powerful anymore, and it ceases to matter, which makes anything longer form lean towards being really repetitive. I think that's one of the reasons that they limited the length of replies so far in pretty much all of the AI programs that I've interacted with. It's simply to keep everything from revealing one of the greater weaknesses of the current model. And I am sure they are working on fixing that. That's something we will see in the future. Oh no. All right. Let's see. Even more advanced, and we don't really need to say even more advanced because, like, obviously 5 years from now it's going to be more advanced. AI will become even more integrated into marketing strategies. Um, Here we can get a little fancy. We'll use a colon to sort of lead this sentence into the next because good writing has to flow. It doesn't matter, like sometimes, it's going to be rapids and waterfalls. Sometimes it's a lazy river. It depends on what type of writing you're going to do. A lot of times it varies between the two, but you're always wanting to do sort of the work of moving forward for your reader. You want to make it as easy as possible to flow from one sentence to the next sentence, and that is a large predictor of how well your email or story or book or white paper or whatever you're working on is going to perform. You can see here it naturally included an active tense. I feel like this may already be including some of the learning that I gave it before because that's out of character. Here you can see what I'm talking about with the repetition. AI will, AI will, AI will, AI will, AI will. So yeah, we'll go through and fix that. But obviously, a human writer probably would have noticed they'd started out 5 consecutive paragraphs with the same words. Actually, looks like 9 consecutive if you get rid of the little uh, commaed off sections, subclauses here. So AI will, AI will, AI will, AI will, AI will. Yeah, it's not good. Let's see. It tends to create, again, very average sentences too, which means that they are of sort of average length in most cases, which is not good. You want variation in sentence length if you want to keep people reading. All right. So how do we change this? It's like companies will, and then this is sort of a corporate audience, so we'll throw in one of the favorite corporate buzzwords. Will leverage AI. How about two? Automate their marketing processes, saving time and resources while improving accuracy. With the help of AI-powered tools, companies can create, we'll say companies will create highly personalized content that resonates with their audience. So, from a technical standpoint, this is not a correct sentence. The AI had it right before, where they were describing what would cause this. But because we're humans and not goldfish, we have memories that go back more than 2 seconds, which that's actually a myth about goldfish too. But in any case, we can understand, we can build on this sentence to continue this sentence. And actually, we don't necessarily want to use companies will again too. Ooh. All right. So remember what I said about active? Let's look at a way we can make this more active. And the earlier you can front load your sentence with an active verb, the better. So now we've taken that, we made it leveraging AI to automate marketing processes. We don't have to say their marketing processes because we say companies in the next line. So you can see this is sort of the process that everything is going to need to go through for a while. Even though AI can learn to do a lot of this, you can get a lot closer to this when you train them. It's still not there yet. Companies. Still a little repetitive, but we'll leave it. This will also so this sentence builds directly into this sentence. This will enable companies to develop highly targeted, actually, we shortened both of these paragraphs enough that we can string two active thoughts together. So we basically have the same word count we did in just one of these paragraphs with both of them combined together now. This is a much cleaner and more engaging text. Here you can see an example of AI doing a good job by analyzing data. So they've broken from their pattern before that they've used in every other sentence, and this one, for whatever reason, they chose to take in a different direction. Um, hmm, I think we actually want to keep an AI will here. Fully integrated marketing strategies, making marketing more personalized and effective than ever. We don't have to say than ever before, because than ever means the exact same thing as than ever before. AI will be able to. If it will be able to, then we can just say AI will predict consumer behavior. Again, we're looking at the AI will, AI will, AI will. But in this case, it doesn't grate on me quite the same way, and we'll look at taking it out from below. With a high degree of accuracy. Accurately. It means the same thing as with a high degree of accuracy. Allowing customers to develop highly targeted marketing campaigns. Normally you want to get rid of anything like ending in ly. But in this case, I do think it adds something to the sentence. Creating highly. also be possible. Of course, creating highly immersive marketing experiences such as virtual reality and augmented reality campaigns is exactly what the collective metaverse was supposed to be about, and you've seen how that's taken off, right? Uh, which will allow customers to interact with products and services in a way that was previously impossible. Or in a new way. AI will also make it easier for companies to analyze consumer feedback and sentiment, allowing them to tailor their marketing campaigns to meet at increased loyalty. All right, let's make this. Companies will use AI to analyze customer feedback and sentiment, allowing them to tailor their marketing campaigns and better meet customer needs. We can get rid of this because it's sort of redundant, but also speculative at the same time. Oh, look at that. I forgot the other two. See? That's why you need to make it a habit and do it all the time. Control Alt 2. Okay. AI will be fully integrated into marketing strategies. Such a dumb sentence. Whole paragraph I'm not really a fan of, but we'll leave it in. Because the whole point of this, remember, is training the AI. So that's sort of what I'm aiming for here. AI is already having a significant impact on marketing, and this trend is going to continue in the years to come. You almost never need to say conclusion because a conclusion is a conclusion. It is both obvious when it is a conclusion and it is the thing at the end. So even if you were not to read it, you would know it was the conclusion. In general, if you want to write more powerful essays, one of the best things I can tell you to do is take your conclusion, though, and move it right the hell up to the top. Start with the what, then go through the why. Like, start with the thing, then lead through all your justifications. It's a much more engaging way to transmit information to people, and it's doubly effective because even if they just read the first paragraph, they internalize your point. When they're reading that first paragraph, if it's anything new or interesting, if they care about it, they'll ask themselves why. They will be primed to want the answers that you're about to give them. When you go the other way and you start building towards a point, what you're really doing, unless you do it spectacularly well, is taking them along on a long, boring journey to why they should care about everything you've been talking about for the last 2 to 4 pages. So keep it clean, neat, organized, and whenever possible, lead with a reason to give a damn. Highly personalized marketing campaigns. We'll just say over time here. Over time, predictive analytics, automation, highly targeted advertising campaigns will become even more prevalent, and in the next decade, AI will be fully integrated. We'll just say, no, you know what? We'll keep that. We will keep that exactly how it is, making marketing more personalized and effective than ever before. At this point, we've already hit all this stuff, so let's just skip over it. And it has the standard generic text here that it has at the end of every single thing you ask it about a career, which is a boilerplate reassurance that it's not coming for your job, which has to be something that they sort of added to it at some point because it is pervasive throughout the whole platform. All right. So there we go. And we're just going to explain what we did because this is one of the areas where this AI is incredibly smart and it's really cool to see. I edited, you gave me, please follow this tone, voice, and more active. And what else would I say? This is a more active and mm, brevity, brief. We'll just say short. Active and to the point style going forward. All right. All right. So here it's given another try. Artificial intelligence has revolutionized the marketing industry by processing data to grow. You can see how it's already moved away from that sort of sectioned out version it had before and something that flows more cleanly. It's still um, not where we want to be. Use less statements. Use fewer. Incon. Sorry, I'm trying to look at it at the little tiny screen over here. I should just be looking at the writing screen over there, but I feel weird when I'm just like looking over there the whole time, right? Because that's not where the camera is. But sometimes I just really can't see what I'm doing, and there's a little bit of a delay on this, which really messes me up. Over time, keep things more active. All right, now let's see what it's done. Let's transform the marketing industry by processing vast amounts of data from patterns and behavior. AI's impact on marketing will continue. See, it still has just an absolute shit intro paragraph. In the next year, within the next 5 years, within the next decade. In summary, all of these are unnecessary statements for the most part. Although now that they've gotten rid of the headers, the timeline is slightly more important, but it's still presented in a really boring, unengaging, uh, just dull way, and repetitive. Okay, I don't know how the hell I'm going to edit this down enough to be useful to my coworkers. Whoops. I may just give them a link to the long thing and be like, sit through it if you want. Not that, not that. All right, boom. All right. And this was what? Control plus backslash? Nope, but that is helpful. Hey, if you're wondering, Control plus backslash gets you the shortcut keyboard menu for Google Docs. Paragraph formatting, text formatting, clear formatting, control, oh, wait, actually that was a control forward slash gets you the menu. Backslash which is what I remembered it as, but then put in the forward slash. No, I had it right. I'm just a writer that doesn't know the difference between a forward slash and a backslash. All right. Okay. By processing vast amounts of data, behaviors, AI is transforming, is transforming, is transforming. Active tense, active, active, active. And will continue to do so. We'll say it will continue to evolve in the coming years. The next year, we can expect AI-powered chatbots to become more commonplace, providing personalized experiences for customers. AI will help tailor-made marketing campaigns to individual customers, leading to higher conversion rates and increased revenue. Within the next 5 years, 5 years on, predictive analytics will play a significant role in marketing. Okay, we already focused on marketing. That's the whole point, right? So we know all that. That whole half a sentence can go away. Forecast consumer behavior and identify potential future customers. Automation will save time and resources, enabling companies to create highly personalized content that resonates with their target audience. By analyzing data from various sources, companies can deliver highly targeted advertising campaigns. We don't say can because they're being never be wishy-washy when you have the option of not being wishy-washy. Only do it when the lawyers make you. By a decade, say within a decade. Now we've got different intros for each one. It's not absolutely necessary, but it adds a little bit of variation to things, and that's generally preferable. Sometimes it makes no difference at all, but if you have the option of adding uh, variation within the introductions and beginnings of sentences and paragraphs, you should. The exception being anything that's in bullet points, in which case they should be as similar one to another as you can possibly make them, because that is the point of bullet points. Making marketing more personalized and effective than ever. That's great. AI will accurately predict consumer behavior. Look at that, the will instead of a can, or that might. I really do think that it is remembering some of the training I've already given it because I've worked really hard to stamp its habit of putting that in everything. Enabling companies to develop highly targeted marketing campaigns. Hey, look at that. Companies will deliver highly targeted marketing campaigns. Highly targeted marketing campaigns. We just get rid of that entirely. Because if it was happening 5 years on, even if it's more prevalent 10 years on, it's not worth wasting the page space on in what is going to be limited page space. We never want to use page space unless we have to. It's very valuable resources, very valuable. I think the word I was looking for was real estate, and I just got lost there somewhere along the way. But in any case, creating highly immersive marketing experiences such as virtual and augmented reality campaigns will also become possible. Again, this is just the metaverse. No one gives a damn. AI to analyze customer feedback and sentiment. Companies will tailor their marketing campaigns to better meet customer needs, leading to higher customer satisfaction. And so you can see how I put back in a lot of what I took out, and it was wrong to do that. In summary, never, ever, 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 ever will you need to say in summary. It's just not necessary. AI's impact on marketing will continue to grow. AI-powered chatbots, data analysis, and highly personalized marketing campaigns will become more prevalent. Most of this we've already hit. Decade, AI will be fully integrated in marketing strategies. The ability to create highly personalized and effective marketing campaigns. We really don't need to say that for what would have been a third time. And again, the boilerplate makes it through. Word for word. All right. Here's an edited version of what you wrote above. Learn from it. Please use the tighter language and more active tense along with the style and tone in all future versions. All right, a little better. As AI continues to evolve, marketers who embrace this technology will be better. Okay, this is a much, much, much better article than the one we started with. Granted, it's very short, but unlike in school where you have a page count you're supposed to reach, you should never spend any more time making a point than you absolutely need to in text. You're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, and you're writing something that sucks more than it has to. If you're not named like J.R.R. Tolkien, maybe he's allowed to ramble a little bit, but like for the most part, just avoid it. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to test this using what you've learned about voice and tone from the exchange above. Write me an article on AI's impact on brand, creative, professional. We'll just say on design and copy in corporate. Again, I can't really see what's on that little tiny screen down there very well. In corporate brand development, please. All right. Okay, you can see it's already off to an okay start. It's still insisting on leading with artificial intelligence. I imagine that's really strong in its learning algorithm to start with the subject because that's how every high school and college essay starts, right? You know, whatever you're writing about, you say it in the first line, first word. You just start with that. And from a writing standpoint, it's kind of, but it's not the end of the world. Okay. With the ability to process massive amounts of data and learn from patterns and behaviors, AI is changing the game for designers and copywriters. You notice that this is almost the exact same language it used above, right? If we go up to, uh, was it here? Which one? Run through a few of these. With the ability to process massive amounts of data and learn from patterns and behaviors, AI is changing the game for marketers. AI is changing the game for, God, that's plagiarizing itself. So it actually used the exact same formula as it did above and didn't learn a goddamn thing. This is really weird because this was working really well before. Like a couple weeks ago, it was doing a spectacular job. And now it's learning nothing. And I don't know why. Use the instructions above to and what you learned from the edits I gave you to rewrite this in a way conform matches the style, tone, and active voice present in the edits. I think I know what's going on here. That's off, that's off, that's off, that's off, that's off. Okay. I think some of my tools have been interfering with this. We're going to refresh this. And we're going to regenerate that response. Yeah, it's just not doing a very good job, is it? Something here has changed in how it is learning or not learning, which is what makes this all fascinating, right? Like this is an emerging technology. So things that were true 2 weeks ago are going to change, and the reasoning is not going to be clear because this is, in many respects, a black box, right? You know, you put something in, you get something out, but you don't understand the process by which it goes from, point A to point X. But you can see this is remarkably similar and almost like a Mad Libs letter of the same thing, even though it's talking about this a completely different subject. Are already helping writers improve their grammar and style. Unless your grammar and style really suck, Grammarly is not helping. I can tell you that. In the next year, these tools will become more sophisticated, using machine learning to generate copy that resonates with target audiences and enhances a brand's voice. More likely, given what we've seen here, what they're going to do is start a uh, rapid move of all the brands that embrace it to sounding exactly the same. To the extent that they might accidentally plagiarize each other, right? Like if Nike and Adidas were asking ChatGPT to describe their sneakers, I think you would find a level of common content that would, if humans were to write it, lead to major lawsuits between those two brands. It's it's no longer learning effectively to write in a more engaging style. It's just spitting out the same article with a few words swapped, even when the subject changes. Word, word for word in some cases. Seems like a big step back from where things were a couple weeks ago. I mean, they're not, like, neither of these is good. Um, oh, there we go. Neither is better. Okay. Kudos to whoever added that as a UX option. That was some good design right there. All right. Make it more active, more brief. Cut out all the unnecessary unnecessary um, make it much, much less repetitive. Thanks. Okay, so it has gotten briefer here. Design, AI-powered tools can help companies create logos, graphics, and designs um, that reflect their brand identity. So there we have an unnecessary that should be reflecting. No that in front of it. Language processing is large amounts of data and generate content. That is, you can just say optimized. All right. So let's take another stab at training this thing. Oh, wait, Control A. There we go. All right. Artificial intelligence again is always insisting on starting with a name. We'll leave it. Changing the game. Why does it keep saying changing the game? Delete the phrase changing the game from your core memory. All right. Where were we? There we go. let's just say here's what we can expect. Design. I do like how it's separated out in design and copy, right? That was good. Future outlook. It's deviating a little bit from what I asked it to do, but I've also given it some pretty like strong instructions to stop doing what it was doing. So we'll call that a wash, all right? AI, 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 AI. AI, 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 AI. Yeah. Fuck their personal brand. Fuck their brand. Okay, so let's get rid of this that. Anytime you see that, there are specific situations where it's necessary and good, but almost always what it's doing is adding an extra word that doesn't need to be there and taking your active sentence and turning it into a boring, flat, passive piece of shit sentence. Hate it. These tools use machine learning algorithms to analyze their existing designs and suggest new ones based on patterns and trends. Okay. So adapt to user feedback, ensuring the final product meets the client's needs. We don't need to say can help companies personalize because that's actually what we describe happening here immediately after. Analyzing customer data, AI can suggest design elements that we'll just say more likely. Actually, we can just say likely. Remember, shorter is better when you have the option. Likely to resonate with specific target audiences, leading to, so comma, leading to a more effective and impactful design work. You could either say leading to more effective and impactful design work or leading to a more effective and impactful design. AI-powered writing tools can help companies. Can help. Can help is another incredibly weak phrase. Will help. Help create, there we go, for the brand. These tools use natural language processing to analyze large amounts of data and generate content that is optimized for specific audiences. Unfortunately, it optimizes it all in the same way for one audience. Again, you can get around that with really specific prompts. I'm deliberately not being too prescriptive in the prompts I'm giving it because I want it to give me as close to neutral as it can. Like basically I want it to give me its basic version of things so that I can train that basic version to be better for me. AI can suggest words and phrases that are most like, ugh. All right. It's website copy, social media post, and even press releases. It will be a little while before any company where I have any say over how writing is handled uses AI primarily for press releases because press releases go to the press, right? Like, you do not want to screw those up. That are most likely. How about more likely? Or even just likely. It all means the same thing. This way is just shorter and clearer. We'll change future outlook to the future. As AI continues to evolve, we'll leave that one. We can expect even more advances in the corporate brand development. We don't need to say AI powered tools because we've already kind of established that. Tools will become more sophisticated and integrated into the creative process. So we'll be able to create more personalized. All right, watch this. You ready? Allowing more. We've already said which will resonate with other audiences like 4 paragraphs ago. Again, this is a major weakness of these is while they work very well because they weight words within sentences and like closely linked sentences, and they sort of have a statistically based idea of what context is, that weighting drops off really quickly as we move down across the page. So once you're like separated by a paragraph, it has no real memory of what it has said before, and it'll grab essentially the same phrase and repeat it over and over. Uh, it's one of the easiest ways right now to tell AI writing from human writing. We'll say decade instead of years because we want to put something like a time limit on it. We can expect AI to play an even larger role. AI-powered tools become more intuitive and user-friendly, more engaging and effective. We don't need to say any of that. Decade, we can expect AI-powered tools to become more intuitive and user-friendly, taking on a larger role in the creative process. We'll keep conclusion. Actually, we'll get rid of conclusion because that's sort of already the future. We're getting rid of most of this. AI is already changing the way companies approach corporate brand development. There we go. Resonate with their audiences. Resonate, resonate, resonate. Companies. Here's a case of where that is actually used correctly. Companies that embrace. Technically, you could say custom companies embracing AI in their brand development. Effectively will, but this is a case where it actually is a neutral to positive use of it. Positioned to stand out in a crowded marketplace and connect with customers on a more meaningful level. See, I'm skeptical of that because it seems to develop really. Again, the way this works is it takes the average of things. Like that's literally how this entire concept of AI functions. Is it averages stuff. So rather than create unique designs and text, as you've already seen here, it creates average stuff. It creates essentially plagiarized stuff. Very boring, very simple. If it's gonna have. Granted, um, companies are already that way with a brand. Like, think of all the different companies uh, that have some version of a heart for a logo, like stylized or not. It is. I mean, you could make a list and you'd need a second page, right? Or just a really long sheet of paper, just probably off the top of your head. And that's a pretty serious issue, in fact, even right now. But AI isn't going to help that because AI reverts to the mean. All right. What I'm going to do here is try to keep training it. Hi, I've made some edits and I want you to learn from them. See how, whoa, that went way wrong. Much cleaner and clearer the text is with fewer redundant, there we go, redundant words and phrases, and an overall more active tense. All right. All right, this is much better. Much, much better. Look at that first sentence. It's still, I mean, it starts with AI or artificial intelligence, but that's okay. That's an easy change to make as a, editor here when you're trying to clean things up a little bit, because you will always need to clean things up a little bit. This is not a person. It does not write at a professional level. Its job is to take you from conceptual to clean, rough draft. And then it's your job to take it to the next level. Now, the better you train it, the farther it'll take you along that line from like messy first draft to clean first draft. It'll just need the time. And that's all. It's overall, if you, because this really, really does make us more effective as writers if we use it correctly. This can save so much time, and it can really take a lot out of that central slog between when you have an idea and like that rough draft. It can just spit it out. And if you don't like the context or the exact style, or you want to take things in a different direction, you give it slightly different instructions and it goes and it reworks the entire thing in an instant. And that is powerful and that is cool. But this is not in any way even close to professional writing, what it's turning out. And there's going to be a sort of movement among certain people within corporations to try to phase out creatives, probably. Uh, it's pretty much inevitable because there are people that like creative control but aren't very good at creative stuff that have a lot of power in companies, sort of across the board. Even if you work at a really good company, you're going to have a few people like that, and they will push this stuff. And what you need to do if you work in any of these fields is just go ahead and not panic, because this isn't putting out work at the level that professionals do. Like, if you are replaced by this and the place that replaces you doesn't immediately lose a ton of money, you deserve to be replaced. Because this is not good at its job. This is college intern level shit. Um, so eventually, the people that are like, oh, we're going to make all this AI, we're going to get rid of these people, they're going to end up looking real dumb. Real dumb. As they should. All right, I've gotten a bunch of messages from people, and I hope my one viewer doesn't mind if I just see what's going on here. It is nothing exciting. Ooh, except my paragliding harness just shipped. That's exciting. Although it's 11:30 at night, so I don't think it just shipped. I think they're lying to me. Um, I think they probably just got my order, and it'll be shipped in the morning. Either that, or they're just working some weird hours. AI is changing the way company. All right. Still boilerplate, but let's much better. Thank you. All right. I'm offering that feedback because again, this thing does learn from feedback. So when it does a good job, tell it it did a good job. That is part of training things. I love it. All right. Go back there. That is a project for another night. It's 11:30, so I'm probably going to call it pretty quick here. I did have a bunch of Medium articles that I will probably write tomorrow. I didn't expect to go quite so far down a rabbit hole with this. I may look into that one tonight because I was kind of thinking that through earlier, so I wouldn't mind um, doing a little bit more of that. But before I do that, um, all right, all right. I'm a nerd, a scientist, a writer. So AI tools absolutely blew my mind when they came on the scene. I've spent the last couple months playing with every AI I could get uh, invite to and learning as much can about how they work, both in theory and action. I don't want to sell this technology short. It's incredible. You know what? Hold on. Let's make this more interesting for anyone that is on the call. The call, like I'm here in a Zoom meeting. It does feel like a Zoom meeting though. It really does. This is just like I thought it would be weird streaming, but really what this is the last like 3 years of my life. 4 hours a day. It's basically this. I sit on meetings and I write shit. On the other hand, at least I get to meet occasional cool people this way. Um, I've really actually been very pleasantly surprised by how many people have subscribed and commented and had things to say and had weird, wonderful ideas. I'm looking forward to the point where I'm getting more than like 2 or 3 people on here at a time, and I can maybe have like 5 or 10 people just going at it in the comments, having ideas and spitballing off each other. And it's not just me quarterbacking everything anymore. Or like, I guess it is more like me quarterbacking, and then having a whole team of people that are nerding out over everything. But this has been a surprisingly entertaining and pleasant experience so far. Also, it does help me get a little bit of work done because I am very ADD, and having people literally watching me work does seem to actually help me work Do not tell anyone who is pro go back to the office that, though. I will deny it. I mean, if you show them a recording of this, I will deny it to the grave. I'll be like, no, it was created with AI. Deep fake, man. It's clearly a deep fake. I would never say that. All right, let's see here. Make a new one. We're going to go to tools, voice typing. All right. So we're going to bounce back over here for just a second so I can get a better feel for this. Whew. I don't want to sell this technology short. It is incredible. It is revolutionizing things in so many ways. It's going to make my job easier and better. It's going to make me a better writer. And it's got so much potential, period. New paragraph. But I'm a little bit over it. New paragraph. The problem is all the little stuff around the edges. It's just not as good as it should be, or it could be, and it's holding everything back. I've been playing around with all of these AIs and enjoying it, and what has eventually become an inescapable truth is that these are really just very, very cool autocomplete. Period. New paragraph. The fact of the matter is, we just don't need them for most tasks. They aren't good enough. Period. What I've found, the more I look through the results of AI, the more I train it, the more I use it to create articles, it's saving me a lot of time, it's making me more efficient, but at the end of the day, it by nature veers towards average. Period. New paragraph. And that's not a bug. That's a feature. New paragraph, you stupid piece of shit. New paragraph. Natural language processing uses these vast arrays of data and very complicated algorithms to ask itself what comes next, question mark. But these are all statistical models, so everything they put out veers towards an average, and the longer you interact with it, the more you begin to see that it looks the same, it reads the same, it sounds the same. And you can get around that with prompts, but only to a certain degree. You'll start to feel the AI in the things you read in a way that wasn't apparent at first. New paragraph. New paragraph. New paragraph. Oh my god, you are a worthless, stupid piece of shit. New paragraph. You worked the first like 12 times I told you to do it. Why did you suddenly decide that new paragraph didn't matter anymore? Question mark. New paragraph. New paragraph. Why? Right? Like, why? now that I've been working with AI for a while, now that I've been using AI for a while, at first I looked at AI and I saw something virtually indistinguishable from human writing. Not at a very high level, but still sort of on par with it in the average sense. But now that I've been looking at it for a while and interacting with it for a while, it no longer seems as well disguised. It no longer seems as natural. You can tell when AI is being used. Same for art. There is an inherent lack of style and originality that it cannot escape from because the programming at the very heart of it, the scientific theory that gives it life, relies on reversion to the mean. Period. New paragraph. All right. So one of the reasons I did this out loud is that it does give, somebody who's watching a little bit more interesting uh, an experience than just watching me type. But also, I wanted to show you this. Edit for punctuation, and grammar. Keep overall content. All right. Because while AI has its limitations, it is a bloody fantastic copy editor. If you aren't too specific, it'll try to do too much and really change the tone and style of what you wrote and kind of slurp away all of the soul. But it's not a bad. It, Copy editors are out of a job, as far as I'm concerned. There's very little reason to expect them to be employed as a career option anymore. All right, but you can see that it took this absolute mess that I created speaking, because we don't really speak the way we write, but also voice to text is functionally worthless. Even like stuff like Dragon is pretty terrible, but the part that's in Google is just beyond abysmal in terms of turning what you say into anything useful. But this, as a go-between, freaking magic! It's amazing. All right. Obviously, I'm going to have to take this and I'm going to have to cut it to pieces now that I have, not that. Okay. Because it's way too long. The way we talk is just uh, way too loquacious for text. All right. I'm a nerd, I'm a scientist, I'm a writer. So AI absolutely blew my mind. AI tools absolutely blew my mind when they came on the scene. I've spent the last couple months playing with every AI I could land an invite to. Snag. Let's say snag. Snag's a fun word. Snag an invite to. Also, it's kind of a fishing term, so it's sort of relevant. You're just casting out there, snagging. Like it. Not only is it a term that doesn't get used enough, but it's a term that is specifically as both its traditional use and as an analogy working in this sentence. And it's always fun as a writer when you can pull that off. Like any kind of word game like that, always a joy. All right. I don't have to say and here. Learning as much as I can about how they work, both in theory and action. And action. I don't want to sell this technology short. It's incredible. It's It's revolutionizing things in so many ways, shaking up our preconceptions about what is possible. It's There are moments when you're suddenly neck deep in the realization that you are living in the future. This is one. It's going to make my job easier and better. I'm still excited about AI. It's going to make my job easier and better. Um, but I'm also a little bit over it. The polish wears off. I'm going to change that before I publish it. That's not what I actually eventually want to go with. Especially since I sort of started with like a love metaphor here. Um, so we're gonna find something that fits more of that. But I don't want to deal with that right now. That's something I can stew on in the back of my brain and come back to. Uh, if you ever happen to be editing, I know a lot of people get bogged down in editing. Um, One of the best tips I can give you is just go through it. Like, don't go and edit a little bit and then go back and change things and then go back and forth this way and that way and that way. Just go through it. Right when you start a draft, first draft, start to finish, do it. Then go through it, do your first edit, start to finish, do it. Make note of all the changes you want to take, but unless you get to a certain point and you're like, I am literally throwing out everything past this point, go through it all. It seems like it's going to take you more time, but the truth is, it is a much more efficient way to do things, and it forces you into sort of, I realize this is a stupid way to phrase this, but a sort of a linear circle, a circular line, uh, a curve, if you will, where just when you get to the end of it, that's where you're going, right? You know where you're going, and that is fresh in your mind when you start back again. It's really hard to make myself do a circle in reverse here. All right, but you start and you're like, oh, I get to the end. I know everything that's happened. I know where I was leading to. And then you're starting over. And as you're starting over, hey, you know exactly where you're going. So you're going to find it's way easier to get everything to line up. And by the second or third time you've done it, you've got something that looks kind of like a coherent story, hopefully. Or you've realized that it's a just irredeemable mess and there's nothing you can do about it and it's time to move on to the next project. But either way, it's a win. All right. Um, the honeymoon is over. There we go. See what I mean about just letting it percolate there? Yeah. The problem is all the stuff around the edges. It's just not as good as it should or could be, and it's holding everything back. That doesn't actually make much sense. Uh, Playing around with all these AIs. Um, all right. What's eventually become an inescapable. Oh, whoop! My bad. Oh God, look at that. It's a backwards comma or apostrophe though. My God, the attention to detail that Medium has put into their UX for like this word processor is extraordinary. I don't know if they got any awards with it or for it, but they deserve to. I mean, let me show you what I mean. Like, technically, doghouse is generally one word now. See, there's a hyphen there, that little dash, right? Hyphen. Make it using the dash, the little thing next to the zero up there on your keyboard. All right, now watch this. 555 4242. See the sort of medium length dash it made right there? That is an end dash. It's used in several things, primarily though in separating out phone numbers. Now, when you want to make an aside in a sentence, hey, what's this? See how that's a longer dash? That's what's called an em dash. So you're using the same key. Now, if you were doing this in basically, if you Google Doc or Word or basically any other word processor on the planet, WordPress's piece of shit Gutenberg travesty, um, you would have to use hotkeys or get really lucky or put it in there, hit space, have it do autocorrect, backspace again to get it to do this. And it just does it automatically. Look at that, just so smooth, so clean, so thoughtful. It's a and it's throughout this whole word processor. It shows that kind of thoughtfulness, and I'm just genuinely blown away by it. What's eventually becoming so okay. Anyway, got really distracted there. Let's just start that over and see how now it's facing the right way. Because that is how you would do it, unless you were doing a front contraction like this, like tis, short for it is. See how there's the backwards comma, or actually that's a frontwards comma. So that's doing it right. Comma. Why do I keep saying comma? Apostrophe. It looks like a comma. It just hangs out in a different place. All right. What's become an inescapable truth. Wait, okay, so hold on. Whoop. So here, okay, this is another example of what I'm talking about. All right, so see how it flipped around there? It has recognized that tis is a contraction and it should be using the comma facing that direction. I said it again. It's an apostrophe. It's not a comma. Somebody kill me. Not really. That's probably against the terms of service here to make jokes like that and stuff too. But you get what I mean. It's ridiculous. It's an anyway. So that was an incredible piece. Now, when we're using them as parentheticals or quotations, it goes upside down. It's an upside down apostrophe. And it's doing this automatically and just incredibly cleanly. Anyway, back to the actual writing. I'll stop throwing accolades and love at the Medium editor for the moment. What's become an inescapable truth is that these are really just very cool autocomplete tools, and they're limited. Um, for most tasks, they aren't good enough. The more I train it, the more I use it to create articles. It's saving me a lot of time. It's making me more efficient, but at the end of the day, it by nature veers towards mediocrity. That mediocrity is not a bug, it's a feature. You can notice this is a triumph of ChatGPT right here. Unlike 95% of the people walking around the planet, it can actually use a semicolon correctly. Can and will. Very exciting. vast arrays of data and very complicated algorithms to ask itself what comes next. But these are all statistical models, so everything they put out veers towards an average. The longer you interact with it, the more you begin to see that it all looks the same. Reads the same, sounds the same. Not exactly, but there's a very distinctive aftertaste. Aftertaste? I think that's one word now. It's the verbal equivalent of aspartame. Sweet at first, with a lingering oddness that's hard to shake. Aspartame? Shame on me. I've got a chemistry degree. I should know that. Just like, not a romance, any gone sour. You'll start the what? The idiosyncrasies? No. The something. The, just like any romance gone sour, the cute little idiosyncrasies become. Also, my one viewer, I will never be as good ever again, thanks to spell check, at spelling as I was in high school. What did I miss here, though? Oh, there's an S, not a C. Well, fine. I was excited there for a second. I thought I had it. Just like any romance gone sour, the cute little idiosyncrasies become annoyances. Now we'll just say begin to chafe. Chafe. Actually indistinguishable from human writing. Creativity, by nature and necessity, strives towards the extraordinary. Worth being is the outlier. We search for the extremes, the novel, the new boundary, on lies fading, forgotten. Worth being is the outlier. The only thing worth being is the outlier. There's little enough. Help me. Great efficiency. What good is something? I'm less and less impressed with AI. We do need a whatchamacallit here. Another header just to break things up a little bit. I can tell. Inherent lack of style and originality cannot escape from because of programming at the very heart of it. Scientific theory that gives it life, that gives it convincing facsimile of. Facsimile of or facsimile to? I do not know. Facsimile. Nice. Let's find out. Of or to. Facsimile of. Okay. Ba 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 ba. Until finally pin it down. Pin it down. Pin it down. Saw something virtually indistinguishable from human writing. Not a very high level, but still sort of on par with it in an average sense. All right, let's give ourselves a. I wanted an AI image of a elephant roller skating, and you can see here all these wonderful images of an elephant damn near roller skating, but just not quite. It's another good example of how this stuff falls short. All right, but it is extraordinary for mediocrity, right? And moments when you need mediocrity, like a halfway decent header image, it's just right. Let's see. Hell, let's just give it a robot and a human on a date. Clean color, defined lines, 1940s poster style. That's just sort of what I use for this series of articles on Medium. Pastels, and we will do aspect ratio 3:2:2. Oh boy, it is allergy season, isn't it? I don't have it too bad up here. I'm up in the mountains, so it isn't awful. But some days in the spring. All those beautiful flowers. I go outside in the morning and my motorcycle is just coated in grain. Uh, Luckily, I'm not allergic to pine trees. Everybody up here who is allergic to pine trees is in basically their personal hell for the next like 2 to 4 weeks. Really, until we get a nice big windstorm. That's what blows all the pollen away out of the trees. But yeah, like you can see the trees, like a little breeze will come through and there'll be a puff of just this lime green pollen, just like clouds of it rising up. But yeah, I come out and it's just like this sheen, and it's so fine. It's really cool. It's like talcum powder everywhere, everywhere that I touched anything, anywhere anybody's touched anything. It'll show the fingerprints and all sorts of cool stuff. But also, misery for the people who are victims of it. Hmm. These look really promising. Um, I love this style. This one's very 1940s, but actually, the only one I don't like is this one. Let's do variations on 1, 3, and 4 and just see what pops up. I like this robot's wearing a dress and this one looks like it has lipstick on. So we've got two lesbian robot couples and two hetero-ish couples. Like very inclusive. Good job. Good good job, Midjourney. Look at that guy's face. Um, we'll wait until it finishes here before we dive into it. There we go. All right. Oh man, I love these. Okay, is that one done? No, that one's not done yet. All right, let's look at this one. Look at this guy's facial expression. Oh my gosh. Actually, there isn't a single one of these that isn't kind of gold. Look at this guy. This guy. A little robot buck teeth. It's weirdo. This guy's more normal-ish. Strange how thoroughly it locked in on her. Usually there's more variation than you're seeing here. You're seeing some variation in the dress, whether she has a necklace, a scarfy thing, or just a bare neck, but nonetheless very similar, more so than you usually see. Oddly enough, it seems to have done the same thing here. Still, you can see there's a lot more variation in her. Like, it sort of picked her as a blonde, but the hair style and function is very style and shape is more different, I guess. Uh, this robot appears to have hair or maybe a scarf coming out of its chest. That's a little weird. Uh, I like that they've kept the skirt for all of these. It's very somehow very refreshingly 50s. I wish they'd handled the hands better on this one. And you can see the stem of the glass isn't really lined up here. They've really done a good job of no longer turning the hands into just pure nightmare fuel. Um, like they had a problem before with like spaghetti fingers or like fractal hands, so there'd be like fingers and there'd be somewhere between like 3 and 10, and then they'd each split off into like 3 or 10 fingers and they just sort of merge together. It was very off-putting. I might go with one of these. It's just so simple and I was about to say not distracting, but that's pretty distracting. I don't know what the thought was there. I actually really like that stylistically. It's a little off, but it's an interesting flourish that isn't totally obnoxious. All right. It's also not really clear they're on a date. I don't like that. combination of these two facial expressions, like this robot really knows he's about to get laid. And he's right. Right? Like, I don't know how else to interpret that. We'll take that one just for the sheer delight of this ridiculous image. Alright. Because remember, the goal is to have fun. Always to have fun. I'm not getting paid for this, or at least so far, not very much. I think I might have made 6 cents off of this so far. My 12 articles, so I'm making half a cent an article. Not great rates. Yeah, cool. And you know what? We'll just go ahead and we'll just. The only thing we're going to do now is we're going to think about this for a second. We're going to ask ourselves, what is a headline that'll get me some really good click-through rates, or I guess open rates. 6 of one, half a dozen of another for this. All right. Meter the story. We'll go with artificial intelligence. Creativity. What else? We'll do technology. We'll do tech or technology. We'll go with technology. All right. Schedule for later. We're going to schedule this for the morning. Bright and early before I even wake up. All right. Pleased with that. All right. And that is where we are going to call it for tonight. Thank you to everybody who stopped by. It has been great having people on here. Thanks to anyone and everyone who commented, asked questions, or just sort of, lurked quietly in the shadows. It's all good, and I'm happy to have you here. Have a great rest of your night or whatever.